Hi, my name is Rudolph and welcome to Accounting Explained. Since this is my first video for this channel, I'm not going to try and come up with a title, and instead I'm going to be lazy and just use the channel title as my topic for today's video. A lot of people use the term accounting, bookkeeping, and finance interchangeably. While they're all really related, there are some differences between them. And so what I want to do is just to talk about some definitions so you kind of understand a little bit more about how these relate but are different from each other. Before doing that, let me give a little bit of background about myself. I've got a background in accounting and finance. And when I'm explaining things on this channel, I'm not going to look up definitions online and kind of regurgitate what they say. You can do that yourself. Instead, I'm just going to try and use real-world examples and just kind of speak from my own experience how I think these topics should be understood. So hopefully that'll be good with you. And, as I said, you can always Google these topics on your own and compare what I have to say to what you see there. And then hopefully that'll help you come up with a better idea, understanding of the topics that I'm going to cover on this channel. So first, let me say, yes, I'm going to generalize a lot in this video. So I'm trying to kind of pull things together in a way that makes sense, but in each case, something that I will say that a bookkeeper does, maybe a finance person might do at another company, or maybe an accountant might do. So it's a little bit loose what people do, but in general, this is kind of how things work. So a bookkeeper will look at transactions and categorize transactions. Typically, that means they get all of your bank statements and all of your credit card statements, and they enter those transactions into an accounting system. In today's day and age, 2025, accounting system usually means an online or a software, accounting software. But, many years ago, hundreds of years ago, and maybe even 50 years ago, a lot of times that was actually done manually by writing it down on a piece of paper. So when I say accounting system, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a fancy system. It could be something that's done manually on pencil and paper, or it could be even an Excel spreadsheet, or it could be something like QuickBooks or Xero. Okay, so I just said that the bookkeeper is entering all of these transactions into the accounting system. So some people might be thinking, oh, I thought that's what accountants do. Well, what happens is that the bookkeeper enters all the transactions, and then the accountant will take these transactions and interpret them, or let's say convert them to financial statements. Within accounting, there are many rules that dictate how you should prepare your financial statements. And the reason for that is to make sure that you can compare financials between two different companies. And so in order to do that, the accounting bodies have created rules that say, okay, this type of a transaction should be reported this way, and another transaction should be reported in a different way. So that's kind of where the skill of the accountant comes in, is to take the transactions entered by the bookkeeper and then ensure that they're interpreted correctly and reported in financial statements that are then sent out to the public for review. Or not necessarily the public if it's not a public company, but maybe it's the owners, maybe it's the board, maybe it's the bank, whoever relies on those financial statements. Around now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, we've already talked about bookkeepers, we've talked about accountants, what else is there to do? There's this third piece, which is the finance team. And yes, bookkeeping and accounting is considered all part of the finance team, but then there's also a special part of the finance team, which is considered financial managers or financial analysts, and that's a different function for what we've already discussed. So similar to how the accountant starts with the information provided by the bookkeeper, the finance team starts with the information provided by the accountant. And they take that information and they then modify it in a way that makes it understandable to regular people. As I just said, accounting has certain rules about how the information needs to be presented, but unless you are an accounting or a finance professional, it may not make sense to you. So the finance team now, they take the information and they make it more understandable to people who don't work in finance. So some kind of explanations or ideas of what the finance team does is like budgeting. So the finance team will meet with the leaders of the business and understand what are the goals, what are we trying to accomplish in the next year or 2 years or whatever time frame. And based on that, they then put together the budget. Then every month, they will meet with the leadership team to kind of go over how the company is performing. So they will look at, here's how much we spent last month and here's how much we budgeted to spend. And if we're overspent or underspent, okay, they work with them to decide what do we need to do. Can we spend more money in one area? Do we need to pull back spending money in another area? Another kind of example of things that the finance team will do is they help the company make decisions. So, for example, let's say you had a company needs to transport 16 people. The question could be, should we buy a van? Should we buy 2 vans that can hold 8 people to transport the 16 people? Or do we buy a bus that holds 16 people? And in both cases, they accomplish the same thing. You're transporting 16 people. But which one makes more sense? This is something where finance would work with the departments to understand what their needs are and then look at the financing options and the numbers to decide, yeah, it's better for us to buy 2 vans, or no, we should buy 1 bus. So lots of different things come up within running a business, and the finance team helps the business decide on what's the best way of making decisions with the money that the company has. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Just give you some high-level understanding of what is accounting, what is bookkeeping, what is accounting, and what is finance. And we're going to cover a lot of topics in a lot more detail over the coming weeks, months, hopefully years. But this is just where I'm starting. If you have any questions, please leave comments down below. If you have, if something is not clear, you want more clarification, also do that. If there are things that you want me to cover, I love getting suggestions, so that would be great as well. So that's it for this week. Thanks for watching this video, and hopefully you will like and subscribe and come back again. Bye-bye.